For this video, we're going to review some of the number sense concepts, specifically place value and rounding. You should already be familiar with these concepts, so this is just for review. Place value is how we organize numbers and we determine their value. And the numbers are organized into groups of 3, and the groups have a title. So we start, our decimal point would be here. Our first column is the ones column, then tens, then hundreds. Our next group, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, they're considered the thousands columns. And then millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, they're considered the millions column. And so when we have numbers, we can determine their value, their individual value, by figuring out what place they are in the place value chart. So for example, if I have 461 here, the value of my 1 is I have 1 1. The 6 is I have 6 tens. So 6 tens equals 60. I have 4 hundreds. So my value of the 4 is 400. When I'm reading a number from the place value, I read the group of 3 numbers before I say its title. So for example, this is my number. I read it 461,461,461. Do you notice I didn't say the word and? When we are reading a whole number, we do not use the word and. And represents a decimal point, and there isn't a decimal point in a whole number. In casual conversation, we hear people say 461 all the time, but it's incorrect mathematically. So we'll try really hard to not say and unless we are specifically referring to a decimal point. Now with place value, there are different ways we can write numbers. There is standard form, where we write it out as normally. There is expanded form, where we take that number and we write out each value of each individual number. And you need to have a plus sign, not a comma, it's a plus sign. So the value of my 1, I have 1,000, so it's 1,000. My value is my 4 is 400 plus 60 plus 1. So this is called expanded form. And then there's written form, where I take my standard form and I write it out in words. So I write it out as I would say it. So 1,461, 1,461. Now a grade 8 sort of concept is writing it out with powers. So you write it, each digit, times 10 to the power of what place it's in, how many zeros there would be after it. So the 1 would be 1 times 10 to the power of 3. There's 3 zeros. 4 times 10 to the power of 2, 6 times 10 to the power of 1, and 1 times 10 to the power of 0. Don't worry about this, it's not a grade 7 concept, but if you want to learn something new or go on an extension, writing it with powers could be that. And rounding. Rounding is one of those concepts that you need to think about logically. There is a rule, if we think about a number line from 0 to 10, the rule is if the number is 4 or less, you round down. If the number is 5 or above, you round up. And if you can memorize that, fine. Or you can look at the number logically and envision a number line with each individual question. So let's say the number is 437, and I want to round to the nearest 10. So I find the 10 column, which is the 3, which I've underlined here. When we're rounding, we always look to the column to the right. So in this case, I'm looking at the ones column. So I look to the right of the number. And this is the number I use to determine whether I'm rounding down or I'm rounding up. So if I'm using this rule, yep, it's a 7, it's higher than 5, so I need to round up. If I'm thinking about it logically, I look at this number. My options for tens are 30 and 40. 37 on my number line is right here. I take 3 steps to get to 40, I minus 7 steps to get to 30. So logically, 37 is closer to 40 than it is to 30. Therefore, rounding my number to the nearest 10 equals 440. There's a little review.